Welcome to the very first episode ever. Mac East Second Floor Studios presents
Submersion.
What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Second Floor Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Thoughtful, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion.
Yep, it's something magical. We're going to be talking about submarine movies, and that's about it. Submarine news.
Yep.
Submarine games, potentially.
Submarine sandwiches.
Yes.
Yeah, why not? Submarine sandwiches, those are my favorites.
You did used to be a sandwich artist.
I was a sandwich artist, yes, that is correct. About 2
What was your
years, I loved
favorite
it.
submarine sandwich?
What's my favorite submarine sandwich?
Yes.
I like anything with chicken on it. So the buffalo chicken, like I worked at Subway, so the buffalo chicken was really big for me. Just the chicken strips, or also they had the teriyaki chicken that was really good. Loved it.
Those are your best ones, huh?
Those are my best ones. What about you?
I do like, though I don't really have it anymore. It was a buffalo chicken flatbread. But other than that,
It's not really a submarine sandwich, though.
Yeah, if it's on flatbread, I don't think that's a sub.
That's flatbread.
oh, that's true, it's not.
So you're off the podcast.
I'm out.
That's it. It's the one test. You failed.
I failed it.
Uh-huh.
I guess there was one month where they do, the $5 sub of the month. I kind of went out on a limb here and tried a spicy tuna sub. Sounded disgusting. It was just tuna and jalapenos, and that's what they were marketing. And I thought, I'll try that. I do like them, though.
Was it good?
I think so.
What would you rate it on a scale of 1 sub to 5 subs? How many subs would you give it?
I give it about a 4 sub.
4 sub? That's pretty good.
1 foot to 6 foot. 6 foot sub.
That's pretty good.
How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, my favorite. Back in school, there was a sub shop down in town, and I used to get chicken parm with lettuce and mustard. And you'd be surprised. Mustard on chicken parm is primo.
You sound like my kind of guy.
It's top of the line.
I love mustard. I love mustard on everything. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever put it on a chicken parm, but next time I will.
Alex is known as the Mustard Man.
Sure.
Okay.
I know you've never met him in person, but that's one of his known aliases.
Out of many. So. Well, great. All right, so we got that out of the way. But, yeah, I think you're right, Kyle. I think we probably will be talking tons of stuff about subs, in particular movies.
Yes. And you were the entire reason for this podcast, Alex.
Yes. If I recall right, I think it was because I said my top 3 sub movies.
Yeah, it was a little more glorious than that, though, when you were talking about it. We were on a boat trip, and Alex was a little inebriated, as most of the people are when we're there. And he started going on about this movie that he just watched called Phantom. And he was explaining it. It sounded absolutely ridiculous. And he said, if I had to rate my top 3 favorite sub movies out of Red October, K-19 Widowmaker, and Phantom came in third.
Okay. That's reasonable. And I only knew Phantom in my own life as being a film that was such a bomb that it would show up on any list of major bombs. Because it was released to 1,160 theaters or something, and made just over $1 million. So it was making about $400 a theater. So it's like,
My God.
a smattering of people over the entire run.
Wow.
But I only knew it as a David Duchovny sub movie.
Oh,
I didn't know
okay.
the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause even when you mentioned that story for the first time, I was like, no, the one you really got to think about is this David Duchovny sub movie. And you're like, yeah, that's Phantom. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's so good.
I forget exactly how I first watched it. It was definitely on Netflix, but I don't remember the reason why it popped up. But I'd always liked like Red October, and I really loved K-19 when I was growing up. So I was like, hey, this is right up the same, same alley right there. So I'll go ahead and click it and watch it. And boy, I was in for a ride. So
that's one way to put it.
Yeah. So that's how we got started thinking about this. So for anyone that's listening right now, that's how we started thinking of this podcast, and we hope you all enjoy it and like it. Officially, in case you guys haven't figured this out yet, my name is Alex.
Yes, it is. My name is Kyle.
And my name is Jamie.
And we're your 3 co-hosts for the evening. We will have another eventually, but he had a work-related thing to go to tonight, so he couldn't make it. But, boys, I think it's about time we dive deeper into the Phantom.
There we go.
It's a nice little sub pun.
Yeah, I'm trying to make as many as I possibly can.
All right.
All right, so let's start off. What did you guys like, dislike, or pretend? No, we should probably go about the plot first.
Yeah,
so people know what the heck we're talking
We got to
about.
recap this thing.
Okay.
Bump the table. That's a no-no.
No, well, we're in the sub. There's a lot of things hitting the sub as
Yeah.
we're going through the water. And
Oh, God. Where do you even start with this movie?
well, mostly you start with Ed Harris in the office of to the beginning, I would say.
Yes. Of that guy who has oxygen tubes,
Mm-hmm.
and he just learns that he's going to be sailing this sub after they just got off the ocean, sailing for 76 days. I remember that. And it's going to be the sub that he started his career on.
Yeah, and I got the feeling when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this guy's a badass. And then you come to learn that he's not. He's like disgraced. He's been stuck on diesel submarines his whole career. He never gets to do the nuke submarines, which are like the premier primo stuff. And so this is almost like just shit on top of the pile of shit that's been his carear a little bit.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, earning that explicit rating probably as a result of that.
Yeah, there's really no other reason for it being rated R.
Well, no, yeah, they dropped the F-bomb about
one.
I think it was one F-bomb, which should be PG-13, but it's R for maybe other things. Maybe when Ed Harris shows his dick. In my dreams.
How can we forget the most explicit, amazing scene in the whole movie?
Yeah. So he gets relegated to this diesel sub that he started his career on, and yeah, he has to go break it to his crew, which is a bunch of character. They're all character actors in the end, but breaks it to this other character actors, the other not starring leading men in this film that they have to go back out to see.
Yes, and the only other, I guess you have David Duchovny.
Yep.
Who, the entire time he's in the movie, you could cut the tension with a knife.
Right.
Just phenomenal actor.
Right. Deadpanning every line, like his X-Files days.
But the other main actor, Alex, I know we've talked about this guy, is William Fichtner. Fichtner.
I don't even know what it is. It might be Fichtner. I don't know.
Could be. You know who we're talking about, Alex?
Yeah. I have always thought he is famous, but it's always tough for me to remember his name. I just always remember that one guy in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
And that's what he is.
That's what he is, and that's what he is in this movie too. Yep.
Like if you look up his IMDb page, one of the top 3 movies he's in is The Dark Knight, and you'll remember him in there.
Like no one. Isn't he like just in the beginning of it or something?
He's
like
in the beginning.
Teller?
Yeah, he's the bank guy. And he
guy.
busts the gun out, and he's gonna shoot the robbers.
Right.
I mean, he's in a lot. Black Hawk Down, phenomenal movie.
The Michael Bay Ninja Turtles films.
Is he really?
I think he turned into Shredder or something. He was definitely in it.
Oh, I don't know
He
that.
was a major character in the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Wow.
films.
Well, that's interesting.
He's done a lot. Yeah. Oh, he's also in Independence Day too. Isn't he the president? Second president in it?
Wait, he's in. I literally just watched that film. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's in.
Actually, if you told me Ed Harris was the president in that, I'd be like, sure.
No, it starts off with the woman as president in Independence Day 2. She dies off when they're in the bunker, and then he's the next guy in line, and he becomes president. Yeah.
Really?
What a rise for Fichtner.
Yep.
Well, regardless, he's never the main man,
No, never the main man.
but he's good. Or maybe
In
not.
this
Maybe
case,
they
though,
still
he was number 2, though, wasn't he? He's pretty close.
What, in this movie?
Yeah, I think technically he was the number 2 guy.
I'd probably
no, it'd be
it's
Ed
hard.
Harris, Dave Duchovny. And
Well,
then
maybe
then
in
Fichtner
terms
comes
of billing, but in terms of the captains on the ship, he was number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He is first mate. All right. So, anyway, they learn that they're going to have to take this old diesel sub out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one guy's getting married.
Yep, that's the whole point. The whole point is this one guy is like super psyched to get it in because it's his wedding night. And then, Ed Harris is like, you got 2 hours. Have fun.
Yep.
Basically. And then they're on 79 days
Yeah.
out to sea instead.
Well, 2 hours is a lot of time for that.
Yes.
Maybe not for Alex,
Right.
but for most people.
So then we really get right into it. I feel like if you really had to rate any sub movie by the amount of time spent on a sub, this one would be 99% of the movie, because the first 5 minutes we have off the sub and the rest of it is on that sub. We never leave it. It barely surfaces. It surfaces maybe twice, and that's it. That's about it. And ending, you get a little bit of a dream sequence, but I'd argue that's still on the sub.
It could
So it's like an A+ sub movie. It's funny, even if you ask, like, how would you rate this in terms of, what happens if it didn't have a sub in it? Like, how good would it be? And just basically, it'd be terrible. It wouldn't be a movie. There wouldn't be any movie.
Yeah.
So the whole movie's on a sub. So,
There was one scene off the sub that I did not understand, and I don't know what the cinematic relevance was at all. When they're going to board the sub, there's a guy carrying oranges, and somebody bumps into him and knocks him down, and all the oranges spill over. And that's it. Why is that even in the movie?
probably a metaphor of some sort for oranges.
So it's a literal metaphor.
Yeah, it's a little metaphor for dropping oranges and how terrible that would be.
Ooh, that's deep.
So then, so now we're on the sub. The only thing during that oranges is that's when he meets David Duchovny, and Duchovny and his friend, coworker, peer,
Comrade.
are like, comrade. That's a good one. Because you can tell from their accents that they're all from the Soviet Union. And
that's a whole nother talking point after
definitely
the
not
plot.
from Los Angeles / New York / wherever the hell they're all supposed to be from. But I meet them and they're like, well, what are you doing on this? And they're like, don't worry about it. And then it being Soviet Russia, they're like, we won't worry about it. We'll just let you strap this contraption to our sub and let's get moving. And they get down there.
They should have worried about it.
They should have maybe worried about it, yeah.
And then they're just kind of sailing along. And this is something that is common in subs, is you get the orders and you do lock them away and you open them once you're out at sea.
That's a thing? That's an actual thing?
Well, from what I read of the Red October,
Okay.
they did that.
Okay. So then they're sailing along. Sailing, I guess is that what you say? Submarine terms? They're submarining along, and they're getting a little nervous. They're kind of starting to do they're seeing some ships here and there, and they see a ship, and they're like, we're going to run away. And the company's like, nope, engage the Phantom. And then so we get introduced to the titular character of the film, the Phantom, which is a contraption that eventually seems to be able to cloak them. It's like stops people from seeing the sub, but it makes it not only that, but it makes it seem like they're something else. So they pretend to be a Panama tanker, and then no one can see them, and everyone's like, "This is super cool."
Yes.
Except for Ed Harris, who's like, "This is not super cool." He's pretty nervous about it.
He is.
And why is he nervous, Kyle?
Because with this type of technology, you could be anybody in the ocean, and you could start a nuclear war
without anyone knowing. You're not just cloaked from your enemies; you're cloaked from your friends.
I guess.
Yes.
I guess the one thing I just don't understand about it is the whole aspect of you got to hit the ship to get the sound. That just doesn't make sense to me. Is it like a tuning fork? Do you guys know how that works?
I thought that too.
Wait, you got to hit the ship?
Yeah, that's what they had to do. They had
that's
to
why they
get
smacked
that
into that
phantom
one.
thing.
Right,
They smacked into it.
Because I think the whole idea is that in order to see another submarine, you ping out, and then there's a signature, and like the Americans would be, keeping track of those signatures of like what a boat looks like. Okay, so this boat exists. We pinged it. It looks like this. And so if they ever ping it again, they match it up and they go, okay, it's that. So they ping it and they get that signature, but they're not just able to, match it up. They're able to kind of send out that same signature along with like a masking signature for themselves. So if something pings them, they can send out something to mask that original one and then send out their own signal that says, we're a Panama tanker.
Right.
And so that's the Americans, instead of receiving back their own signal, they receive this other thing back. And that's what the Phantom does. Engage the Phantom.
Jamie seems to know a lot about the Phantom.
Yeah.
I think he might have wrote this.
I paid very close attention. I could not have written this because it was clearly written by someone who loves submarines. And don't get me wrong, I love submarines. I host a podcast about submarine movies. But this is someone who you could imagine writing a local like theater production of submarines because of how much they love them. And like everything they do is about submarines. Love it so much that you thank Tony Scott in the credits of this film simply because he made Crimson Tide, which inspired you. You gave him a very special thanks. I was like, that's a credit that I bet Tony Scott's a state, rest in peace. But Tony Scott, I bet he got some like cash from that. Like he got, well, not much, but he got whatever cash is generated from that credit. The guy was nice enough to be like, very special thanks to you. He didn't do anything on the production. He just inspired him. He loves submarines. The guy who wrote this loves submarines.
Well, this movie inspired this entire podcast.
Yeah. So you can that love of submarines created other loves of submarines. It's beautiful. It's a circle of life.
Good Lord.
So anyways, they engage the Phantom. Everyone's psyched. Ed Harris is like, I'm very concerned about this. And so he does a test. His test is like, we're going to do our normal reporting of progress to the Russians, and we'll see how Duchovny reacts. And Duchovny got like an F on this test because he immediately like pulls a gun. He's like, hell no, like we are not doing that. And that's when everything goes to shit, basically. And the tension is ratcheted up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then William Fichtner just cuts it with a knife.
Yeah.
'Cause he's like, hey, I'm not going with you. Ed Harris is my boy.
Yeah.
Those are his exact words.
Yeah. And everyone goes with Ed Harris. And that tells you the power of Ed Harris. Is everyone went with Ed Harris except for that douchebag, the political guy. They even say like multiple times, like, he's just a politician. No wonder, right? Am I right?
Yeah. He did have a great mustache in this movie, though.
Yeah, he had a handlebar mustache. No, is that what you call it? Not handlebar.
I
What is the
call
one where it's like goes down?
Alex, what would you call that?
It's like the village people biker mustache.
I mean, it's like almost like a handlebar, but
I guess it is.
Is that what it's called though?
it's like really thick.
In the sense of
It's not a handlebar.
a Western.
It's like a different type of handlebar.
Yes.
Yeah. So they get all separated in their different spots, and this is where it gets a little confusing because they kind of separate out. Ed Harris is like, we're gonna send out a signal. We're gonna like alert everyone that we've been taken over by hostile forces. So they send out this little thing, out into the ocean that basically reports to everyone that like we've been taken over. Then like two people from either side of the submarine like crawl through the submarine, which tells you like
That was weird.
Yeah, Duchovny it did seem like Duchovny wasn't a very good captain of the ship, and it helped that Ed Harris like started his career on it, I guess, because like he like crawled through, they crawled through the ship without anyone knowing about it, and met up, and then they designed a way to mess with the nuke. So they're like, okay, even if the nuke gets launched, nothing's gonna happen. And then other stuff. Ed Harris gets they get engaged because of the alert. Another submarine finds them.
I was going to attack them.
Yeah,
It's a Russian submarine,
right? And that's when Ed Harris becomes the captain again. It's basically like a reverse. Yeah,
this is FUBAR.
It's like now I'm the
Ed Harris,
captain. Actually, no, quickly, you're the captain again. Quick, and Ed Harris becomes the captain again. Staves them off. At the same time, Fichtner comes in and is like, "We're the captains now," and then.
It lasts about 2 seconds.
Yeah, and then they go, nope, we're the captain still. And then everyone gets like trapped. In the meantime, there's this guy like messing with the nuke. And he messes with the nuke the whole time and no one ever finds him. They even go down to where the nuke is. They look in there, like can't see him, but he's like hiding behind the nuke.
And there's a guy in this scene
yeah,
who makes no sense.
The guy who
wasn't it the guy
claustrophobia.
Wasn't it the guy that just got married and he drops his ring in there too, doesn't he?
No, that was the guy who doesn't have claustrophobia, but he doesn't know anything about the nuke. The guy who knows about the nuke has claustrophobia, but it seems like he's real sick. Oh, and then we never even mentioned that Ed Harris is also sick. The multiple reasons why Ed Harris is like a terrible captain is he has epilepsy. It's just so random. They should have just cut that.
He's an alcoholic.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
I agree. And he would have all those flashbacks and start seeing like those dogs and everything. Serves no purpose in the movie. No purpose at all.
It was like a Rottweiler in the middle of the sub.
I think it's supposed to show how he's disgraced. Like you get in the beginning, you can get confused and be like, oh, this guy's like really well regarded, and it's kind of his send off. And Ed Harris tries to be like, no, they're just like screwing with me. And then throughout, you kind of, oh no, he screwed up his first mission and killed a bunch of people. He's an alcoholic. He has epilepsy. He had blah blah blah. All these things. He married the girl that like the major commander was in love with. Like everything that you could possibly do to screw up your career, he did. And so no, they all hate him. Like he's the ultimate patsy that they're gonna put on this sub that will end up, starting World War III.
Right.
But they didn't account for the fact that he's actually a badass, and he stops it.
Well, he's Ed Harris.
Right. And so in the end, they even launch the nuke. Everything happens. They launch the nuke. They get hit with a torpedo. They fall to the bottom of the ocean. And then they start having hallucinations about their life and them dying and them getting to the surface. And Fichtner gets in a suit and goes up, even though there was no survivors of the submarine. So is that a hallucination? No one knows. At the end, his wife and kid is there being like, we love Ed Harris. And it doesn't, none of it, at a certain point, you just have to stop being, like, none of this is actually real. I don't care about it anymore. All we know is that they launched a nuke, but the actual nuke fell out the bottom of the missile. That's the idea, and that the Americans and the Russians knew this because of an alert, didn't launch nukes, and then it was classified, and we've never heard of it since. It's all a big cover-up.
Yep.
And then with the Freedom of Information Act, this movie was made.
That's not accurate. That's not an accurate statement. None of this has been declassified.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the submarine summary of the film. And
the sub-sum, as some call it.
That was confusing. But it was as amazing as the description describes it as.
Yes.
I actually didn't think this was bad. I watch bad movies as part of my life, like all the time. Every week, I'm an aficionado. Been doing it for many years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. I've lost count. And this wasn't so bad. And it got bad reviews, 25% Rotten Tomatoes. But, like, I thought it had some tension. Ed Harris was pretty good. Duchovny wasn't. It was a little confusing at the end. But, like, the scenes in the sub and stuff, it was nice. I did not enjoy it. How about that? I know it's a huge.
It is an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
The entire way this movie was described to me by Alex was there a bunch of guys on a sub that are Soviets, and they speak English. It's totally perfect. And then they're all dead the entire time, and nobody knows it.
That
Yep.
well, yeah. I mean, that's pretty true.
Yeah.
I actually think this falls into a category of bad films that I feel like. Well, one thing a lot of people would just say it's boring. Like it's like a Gods in General situation where it's just like this long, like someone who really likes submarines made a film and somehow I'm watching it. This is weird. When you watch Gods and Generals, you're like, I'm confused. Who wants this? It's just a Stonewall Jackson like 4-hour biopic. Like, okay, this is weird.
Biopic. Yeah. Alex, you remember that term.
And but like, so you get a bunch of reviews like that. There's other reviews that really point to those accents and being like, how ridiculous is this? And that's a type of bad movie. It's kind of like William Shatner made a movie where he was twins. He played twins. One twin was white and one twin was Native American. And the movie called White Comanche. And
sounds amazing.
Sorry, no. One was white. He's like a sheriff, and the other one is still white, but he was raised by Native Americans, so he's white Comanche. And it's like all these books about bad movies. Oh, look at how ridiculous and bad this movie is. And when you actually watch the movie, it's just William Shatner playing a Native American. And after like about 15 minutes, you're like, this sucks. Like, yeah. I don't want to watch William Shatner pretend to be a Native American anymore. So it's like a one note thing. And that happens a lot with bad movies. And I can imagine a lot of the reviews kind of being like, isn't it so ridiculous, their accents? But after 15 minutes, you're like, it's not, I've kind of forgotten. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I've embraced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they forget it. I just don't ever see anybody convincing David Duchovny, though, to speak in any other accent. I just don't think he's capable of doing that.
I don't think he can even make inflections in his voice. It seems like he just is like, everything is deadpan.
Yeah.
I feel like if they were like, okay, the script calls for you to yell at this point, he'd be like, no, I don't do that. You have to whisper at this point. No, I don't do that either. I just talk like this. This is how I talk. Dive
the sub.
Engage the Phantom.
Engage the Phantom. But yeah, I mean, that's probably one of my biggest, like at first, the thing I knew that it was going to be a bad movie from the beginning, or one that I even did like, is when no one even spoke in an accent. And I just remember seeing that it was supposed to be a Soviet movie, and even a bad fake accent I would appreciate even more. But that's me.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And I actually think that they would have benefited some from it, because one of the things that I think they kind of painted themselves in the corner is that this is a ripoff of Crimson Tide. This is the same storyline as Crimson Tide. So Crimson Tide has the same storyline as this. And by having no Soviet accents, you ended up with just the same movie. They didn't get to differentiate it.
Alex, is this the best movie you've ever seen?
Were you asking me?
Yeah,
Your name is Alex.
I honestly did not even hear you say Alex, man. Is it my favorite or best movie I've ever seen? No.
Well,
but
it's third on the
top
sub
three
movies.
favorite.
You remember the list?
It's one of my top 3 sub movies, though. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I did have a few memorable quotes from this movie.
Oh, I actually had a couple too.
Because of the way that you explained it to me, how they were all dead the whole time.
Not the whole time.
Well, but that's
You're
what
saying the whole time?
But that's what I.
Oh, I see.
That's how it was explained to me.
Okay.
So I was always looking for these foreshadowing quotes, and there are a lot. One of the things that they said, they're doing some kind of drill, and he says, "We're already dead. We just don't know it yet."
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
And then, as Ed Harris being an alcoholic, says, "You know what they call an old boat captain without a boat? Just another drunk." And then wham, seizure.
Yep.
And then when they're looking at one of the other subs, he says, "If she even blinks, I'm going to put a fish into her."
Wait, what?
Exactly. Take it out of context.
I got it. No, I get it. Yeah.
It's a torpedo.
Yeah.
It's a torpedo, yeah.
But
I actually have one that I did want to say, which was right in the beginning, I felt like there was just like a lot of unwarranted gravitas to everything that was said. But in the first conversation between Ed Harris and the other captain or admiral or whatever rank he would have, and it's just like it's as if every word is meant for audible gasps in a crowded opera room. Because there's one exchange where it's like, "Do you think we can be redeemed for the things we've done?" And the other guy goes, "I don't know. In our dreams, maybe. If there is such a thing, then it's sure to require opportunity." And here she is, knocking.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was like you could hear the typewriter typing, click, 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 and then ching, and him taking a long draught of something. Like, I did it. God damn it, I've done it. This is happening, and it did.
And that guy, the one who says that quote, also, right when the boat sails out, he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I don't know. And it doesn't make it like, at first I'm like, oh, he must have known what's up, right? He knows something real bad's happening. But like, I thought it was against Russia. It's just a little weird. Like, isn't he Russia still? Or is he also in on the plan? If he's in on the plan, why is he killing himself? Isn't he like real jazzed up for World War III?
Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, did he kill himself? I can't tell if he did kill himself because he knew what was going to happen,
I thought you were going to say you just couldn't tell if he killed himself. Like, no, I'm pretty sure he killed himself.
He shows up at the end.
Yeah, he's walking Ed Harris's family down. We're like, what?
Because the more I was watching it, the more I felt like it was just the two KGB guys, the guys that were running the Phantom the entire time. I thought it was their own little rogue idea to do this themselves. Either way, it doesn't really make sense on why they would want to start World War III. Because I think at that point in the war, I think it was pretty well known that both sides could destroy the world multiple times. So I don't know how deep it went, and that was one thing I wish they kind of talked on more in the movie, because it doesn't make sense why that guy at the beginning kills himself.
They talked a little bit about how the United States had developed some weapon that they had assumed would
Dark Star.
Yeah,
the first strike capability.
The U.S. would first strike very soon, and so this was supposed to be almost a preemptive measure against that. So I guess that was part of it, but I also couldn't tell how real that was, if it was something that was made up to try to convince, if there was like resistance from Ed Harris, to convince Ed Harris that it was the right thing to do. Because Freedom of Information Act, I certainly haven't heard anything about Dark Star.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I felt like it was just these two guys, the KGB guys running Phantom, that just wanted to kill the world for whatever reason, and that the one crazy captain is the one voice of reason throughout all of it. It's kind of the way I kind of felt through it. Yeah. And if that's the case, I still don't understand why they got the beginning killing himself then, because then it would seem like he was in on it, but I don't think he was. So
he was sick. It's a whole different storyline. In fact, there's another movie that there's being in production. Pretty cool.
A younger Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Who could just be Ed Harris, because I don't think that guy's aged a day since 1988.
We just saw him in Geostorm, and he has aged a day.
You think so?
In the last few years, yes, he has lost his stuff. I was gonna say one of the big things is I feel like he still has his like fastball, although he's a character actor. So let's say he has like a really nice curveball or whatever, and he's lost it. He's lost a step a little bit in the last couple of years for it. And Geostorm, he was rough, I felt like, but we both saw it.
We both saw it.
Obviously,
Geostorm's a whole nother different podcast. Yeah. I wish there was a submarine in that movie.
Yeah, no submarines.
There wasn't.
No. It's all in space. So I mean, technically, I think a lot of you could say that a spaceship's like a space submarine, but
that's a pretty good analogy.
It goes the submarine, the sub portion of that really doesn't work because it's space. So, and marine, actually, you know what? I take that back. The marine part of it is
I was thinking that too.
No, the marine part of it actually is probably the bigger thing it goes against.
That's another great movie. I somehow brought that up today at the library to the guy who was giving me my stuff. Because he's like, oh, it's a really nice warm day outside. He's like, man, but if the whole world wasn't on fire right now. I said, well, hopefully somebody figures it out. He's like, yeah, they usually do, but I hope it's not like Geostorm. And he's like, is Nick Cage in that?
And the answer is
I said he should have been.
no. Is Nick Cage in a sub movie? No. Has he ever?
Hold
been?
on.
Oh no, yes he has. Sorry, he has. Take that back. USS Indianapolis just came out.
Yeah,
It's
he
on
was.
Netflix. It's on the watch list.
It's on the watch list and it's coming up. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So get ready, listeners.
That
You like Nick Cage?
I feel like that's one where I'm not going to be saying, you know what, not so bad. I feel like I might be saying this is pretty bad.
Well, if you rated Phantom on the amount of time that they were on the sub, there's probably not going to be much time Nick Cage on a sub. Because a sub just sinks that boat.
Yeah.
But it'll still be phenomenal because there's a submarine in it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some. I actually had some questions about what qualifies it. Just any appearance of a sub.
We'll get there.
Or mention of a sub.
Even any mention?
Mention.
Because I was going to say, one thing is like, okay, Superman 3, or Superman 4, Quest for Peace. There's a sub that launches a nuke that Superman takes into space, obviously. But that's the only appearance of a sub. That's okay?
It's fine.
Okay. Beverly Hillbillies,
There's a submarine.
submarine sandwich. There's a 6-foot sub is ordered to a mansion because what's his name, the son.
You're getting Alex all fired up about it.
He orders it because he's too hungry. He can't eat the tiny rich people food. Like he needs something big, so he orders a giant Subway sandwich to the mansion. Qualifies?
We'll get there.
Okay. The movie Submarine, which has literally nothing to do with submarines other than the title of it is Submarine.
Well, I think that one probably should be in.
Okay.
But
So
that'll be towards the end once we've exhausted a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of possibilities. I even saw that weird sci-fi one, Valerian, Planet of whatever. That one apparently has a submarine. I don't know in what capacity, but apparently it does.
One that I'm really excited for is Jurassic World 2. There's supposed to be a dinosaur submarine battle. Tell me that doesn't sound amazing.
So we're talking about podcast live, recording in the theater.
I think that'd be a great
I would
idea.
say that if there was a chance that there wouldn't be a million people in that because people are seeing Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we recapped it. What do we got?
Sorry, this is way back when.
Okay, keep
But
going.
I was talking about, the foreshadowing things about everybody being dead.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they have that navigator who is listed as being dead on the other sub.
Right.
And then he's the guy who holds the gun to William Fichtner's head. Worst character in the movie.
They probably should have known that he was not a good guy
I mean, how do you know, though?
because he was listed as dead on another submarine. It's literally like everyone in the ship
Fair enough.
everyone on the ship is suspicious because they've never been on a ship before. Basically, they looked at the thing and they're like, no one's ever been on a sub before except for us that we know. Everyone else is like patsy nobodies. They're like, and that guy is like fake dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, and basically, Ed Harris is like, clerical error.
That is
Nope.
what he said.
You really think that the Russian army is gonna or
He's
Navy
probably
is gonna?
drunk.
Yeah, probably. You're right. You know what? I don't take into account all of the problems he has. He's literally a mess. So yes, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I do like about... I mean, this isn't just submarine movies. This is a lot of movies. When there's a lot of jargon or anything going on that's something you might be unfamiliar with, they always tend to over-explain something, and they make it a point. So there is a scene where Ed Harris looks at Fichtner and the political guy, and he said, what's the ROE? And Fichtner looks at the political guy and says, that means rules of engagement. He's like, I know what it means. But for all of us viewers, you gotta know. And then they also explain the
I could have done with
noise-
even more explaining of the sub, how the sub worked. We were on there for a while. They could have been like, this is a realistic sub. We got it. It's from a museum. Let's show it off.
And with the diesel sub,
It was a diesel sub, yeah.
it was, you can't stay underwater for a whole heck of a long time because you have to run those generators to pump the batteries back up. And if you're going to run generators like that, obviously it's going to create a lot of exhaust, and that will kill you when you're underwater. So you have to be able to vent it. They never showed them going up to recharge the batteries.
Well, that was kind of a plot point, I think, right? Wasn't one of the big things about how the batteries were getting flooded or something?
Well, I think that's what started causing them to hallucinate at the end.
Yeah, and in the beginning they had like a drill where like the timing wasn't right because they had all these new people.
Right.
And he said like, "Damn it, there would already be chlorine gas here because of the salt water in the batteries."
Right.
Yeah.
And they were running into that issue when they went up to smack that tanker.
Yeah.
Because they said, we got 10 minutes left on the batteries. But still, they never showed them recharging it or whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad we're really getting into the depths of the sub
you need
functioning. It is going to be tough when we have a movie like Superman 4 where they show the sub for a second. Because I feel like they just made it easy on themselves. There's really nothing they could do that would mess up us being like, you know what, they really screwed up that sub scene.
It's just the exterior of the sub.
Yeah. Well, the problem is flying through the air. Like, it really should have been underwater. They screwed it up. That's the only way they could screw it up. No, I'm joking.
I've never seen this movie.
They just launch a missile. But I'm saying, like, the only way they could screw it up is by having a sub that's, like, not underwater. Then you'd be like, well, that's a stupid sub. I don't like it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that this whole plan, though, could have been just foiled from the beginning? Because, like, the Phantom thing is supposed to get their signature to make it sound like a different ship, you know? So in this case, in the movie, they go up to try to sound like a tanker. So a tanker obviously is not going to be underwater. If there was another sub in the area, couldn't the sub just ping it, put his periscope up, and then see that there is no tanker in the area?
Yes.
Yeah, and also, wouldn't they be a little weirded out by the fact that the tanker's like 50 meters under the water?
Right.
They're like, oh, we're pinging this thing. We're seeing this thing. Oh, it's just a tanker. But
can you tell depth?
I don't know if you could tell depth, but all they would have to do is put
Oh, no, I guess maybe you can't. But
Paris...
wouldn't you know which way it's coming from? I guess maybe you don't.
You'd be able to which way it's coming. Because
you're right.
You could tell when they're able to tell when a torpedo's coming at them. They can tell which
they have to.
it's
Otherwise,
going.
you wouldn't be able to know how far away something, like a torpedo coming at you is.
Right.
Or fish, as they call them.
Yeah, or fish, to be more accurate. You know what? We might be getting in the weeds here. I'm not sure we're going to be able to answer this. Maybe a future episode when we have an actual nuclear submarine captain on.
Yeah.
As part of it.
One of these diesel ones.
Yeah, we should probably just rewatch this movie for that episode.
Ask him if it's even feasible. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it's
Contact the creator.
That would be funny. I wonder if he'd be interested.
This is our first episode, and then we just revisit it and do it again once we're way better at podcasting.
Well, see, the thing is like, I feel like this podcast is going to go for a while. We have a bunch of submarine movies. Eventually, you run out.
False.
Well, there is a finite number of submarine movies. And I feel like after that, see what you're saying, where you just like rewatch submarine movies because you love them so much. I feel like season 2, skateboard movies. But we'll keep it for later. It's like later. It's fine. The features a skateboard.
Does hold a lot of promise.
Yeah, and if there was a movie that had both a skateboard and a submarine.
Skateboarding on a submarine?
Well, not on the submarine. Let's not be ridiculous.
What about on top? Like a Tony Hawk game where you can grind forever.
That probably is in one of the Tony Hawk.
There might be a submarine in one.
There's a ship in the Boston Harbor, but I don't think it's a submarine.
Oh,
it's like in the third one. Yeah.
That's the USS Constitution.
Oh, is that what it was?
I don't know.
Sounded fair enough.
Yeah, probably.
That guy who's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
You do not sign up for the Navy.
Not only that, but I feel like he acted as if he had been shot in the stomach. Like that's like how he was acting.
He was.
It was like he was about on the verge of death. He's like, and you gotta turn it. In the end, you gotta turn it. And then, but like that's not claustrophobia. I don't think. I mean, I guess panic attack of sorts. But like when I was seeing it, I was like, you are acting as if you're sick. You don't know what claustrophobia is. I guess the same could be said about Ed Harris with his epilepsy. Or I feel like he did epilepsy, where I was like, I feel like you really trusted yourself here.
During that scene, too, I even rewinded it and rewatched this. The guy who's in the room with them, he's grabbing all over Ed Harris. There is a time where he grabs him right by the junk.
And that's when his dick came out, and they got the R rating.
Yeah.
Probably.
Should have.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an aggressive grab.
No. I don't know about you, but I saw a dick.
I don't recall seeing this dick, but I'm going to have to go through and rewatch it.
Yeah. It's worth it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Yeah, you'll totally love yourself for doing it. All right.
All right.
What do we got as other entries?
Can you say that again?
What do we got as other questions that need be answered? How do you rate the sub? How do you rate the sub?
How do I rate the sub? Out of 10 subs?
It's a good sub. It was an old sub. I wouldn't want to be on one personally, but
I think they actually. I think that really helped them. Actually,
I don't want to be on it personally.
It helped for them to be on a really old sub because they could just use a museum sub and it was real accurate.
Yeah.
They didn't have to work at it. It wasn't like Stealth where they had to like invent a new stealth bomber that also was a robot.
Yes.
Which reminds me of Stealth 2, submarine movie. It's a robot sub.
Are you serious?
No, it's not a real thing yet.
Oh,
yeah,
will be.
Yeah.
All right.
When this podcast really launches,
yeah,
that'll be our first funded film from the production company.
Oh, we're gonna get to create it.
Well, yeah. What's the production company we're under? What is this?
Oh, Mackey's Second Studios.
Yeah. So that's also the film production.
Oh yeah.
Eventually,
obviously.
Yeah, and the first one will be Stealth 2, Stealth Submarine. When we have this production studio, we need to keep it clean. Keep our noses clean.
Okay. He doesn't care.
I don't think he can hear us.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's the production quality we have at Mackey Studios.
Mackey's Second Floor Studios.
Mackey's Second Floor Studios.
We can't even hear each other.
Were we doing something bad?
Well, you were.
What was I doing?
But in the future, we just got to make sure that everything is good.
No scandals.
No scandals.
What was I doing? I'm really lost.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
But you're the highest risk.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, all right, makes sense.
Yeah, we can't have
I know myself.
Stealth 2 starring Ed Harris still, probably.
Ed Harris is in another sub movie that is on the list.
Really?
The Abyss.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a James Cameron movie from 1989.
It's a classic.
I've never seen it.
Slightly better than this movie, probably.
Well,
it's very long, though.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a long movie. What was the other question? I feel like there was other questions to ask. Would this movie be better without a sub? What do you think?
I mean, this movie's possible without a sub.
Let's say they're on a nuclear warship.
Or a nuclear train.
Still, no. They just jump off the train or jump off the warship. I think it's better that they have to kill themselves in the end. They have to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the world. I don't think any other way.
It's easier to do that, I think, in a ship than anything else. Like a
Maybe
submarine.
A plane. Nuclear plane. Ooh. Dropping a bomb.
But it would have to be like a commercial airliner plane.
Yeah,
Isn't like a fighter pilot, you're not like walking around really, are you?
No, that'd be tough. It'd have to be like Air Force One for some reason carrying a nuke also.
Well, they do, don't they?
I hope not. Seems like a bad
decision. So. Yeah.
What was the other one? There was one. Would it be better without a sub? And then there was one other question that I thought was real funny, in particular for this film. Did it benefit from having a sub? I think that was one of them. Which for this film is kind of funny, since the entire movie was a sub. Did it benefit? I think so. Yeah.
Didn't hurt.
I think they did pretty well with the sub.
Yeah. Did okay.
Do you guys think that they were alive the entire movie, or did they die halfway through, or did they die at the end?
I think that they died when they went down, after the nuke was launched and all that stuff. And he had to convince that guy who was freaking out, thought he was hearing stuff outside the boat because of the gas leak. And then the canary died. I think they died at that time. I don't think they were dead the entire time, but Fichtner got out.
I actually disagree. I think it's a little bit earlier than that. I think they died at the launch, and that actually the missile was never launched.
It just blew up. It just blew up the ship.
It blew
itself.
up. Yeah. Basically, they had explained that there was like some catch, some fail-proof, where if it fell out in the missile container or whatever, then it would just explode. I think that happened, and for Ed Harris and everyone on the boat, they mistook in their death. They mistook the explosion from that for a torpedo hitting them, and that was the end of basically the end of their life.
That's what I thought too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it actually matches historically with what happened with the submarine, which is the.
How much did you look up on this?
I read quite a bit.
Wow.
When you invited me for this, I take it pretty seriously. I don't know if you've seen my website for my bad movie watching. It's pretty intense.
I've seen it.
Yeah. And but like in that one, the consensus, although there's all kinds of conspiracy theories and stuff, but including this movie, it's like an extension of conspiracy theories. Yes. But the consensus is that a missile exploded within the launch torpedo area or whatever.
Really?
And because they found half, like, the front of the sub, like, crushed, and then they recovered only 6 bodies when they tried to pull up the United States in a very covert operation. Tried to pull up the sub, and it ripped in half, and they only got 6 bodies out of like 98 or whatever. And those 6 bodies had to be buried at sea in lead coffins because they were so radioactive. So it was presumed that the nuke, that a nuke had went off in the sub.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's my theory, is that, and that in the end they weren't actually hit by a torpedo. The thing never launched. Whatever they show is an imagination of what happened, which is a little strange because no one's out there to observe it.
Right. So it didn't launch. It just blew up on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe the thing launched, but nothing would have tracked or been known about it. Fall into the ocean or something. But that the nuke ended up exploding, and then they were all dead at that point. I mean, they were just dead. And then everything else was like memories.
I think everything that happened after that was just all in there. I don't know exactly, but they were definitely dead.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No way,
I don't know whose mind we would be watching from that part.
No, and the biggest thing is there's no way Fichtner got into a suit and climbed out of that submarine. They're like, we're on the bottom of the ocean. Climb out of the submarine. Like,
yeah, they were sinking. I know, like, submarines have like escape tubes where people can get out, but I felt like they were probably way too deep at that point. He probably just would have been crushed to death immediately as soon as
no one survived
filled up
submarine. Yeah, that would be known.
Right. Yeah. And I guess the only reason why William Fichtner's character leaving is just for Ed Harris's character to make it seem like his family actually liked him, because at the end the daughter
they did not.
Right, and like the daughter like threw the flowers.
I think that, didn't he say he had problems with his wife?
It sounded like they were having problems, and they didn't like him being in the Navy, and he was never home for the daughter, is kind of what it seemed like. I don't think they really got into it too much, but they didn't.
The only time they really got into it was to say that he totally got with the girl that the other submarine captain was into.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, no. Don't worry.
But like they throw the flowers in at the end, and I think that was just maybe like Ed Harris's character trying to find some sort of way that everything
that was
he did.
Definitely Ed Harris's character.
Yeah, find some way that he was actually accepted into somebody's like heart or mind.
Yeah, everything about that didn't make any sense. It was like the submarine was never pulled up from the bottom of the ocean. There's rumors that the United States got like part of it, but not nearly all of it. Like, to have it be like they got it from the bottom of the ocean, we're carrying bodies off of it, that's all in his imagination.
Yeah. It has to be.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, this is totally out of left field, there was a scene where Ed Harris was passing out tea cakes? Could his wife have poisoned the tea cakes, killed everybody on the crew?
Right then and there?
Yeah, at the very beginning. Right before the oranges were dropped.
That he poisoned them somehow?
His wife did.
His wife poisoned him?
David Duchovny was a character that he made up in his mind because he was yet to be introduced.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. He imagined the Phantom.
His last dying tea cake.
His last dying his thoughts are about inventing some cloaking device called the Phantom.
That he could never run himself because it's too evil for him, but he could think of it.
Yeah, he could definitely stop it, destroy it, but
he's like, this idea is too good. We need to destroy it.
It's actually all in the mind of the guy who killed himself in the beginning.
Ooh.
He watched that submarine go away, and he's like, I know what's going to happen. And then you're just in his mind from then on. When in reality, they just had 79 days at sea, no big deal. And then they came back home, and the guy who got married, had a great life. And, they had like 3 kids. They had some troubles through their marriage, but eventually they worked through them. And, they died in each other's arms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that Phantom 2 or Phantom 3 where we see that?
That's that's Phantom 6 or 7, probably.
Man.
Yeah. That would be Phantom 2, where they just explain how the entire first Phantom was in the mind of the guy who killed himself. Like, forget all that. Forget that bullshit.
But now we're actually going to invent the Phantom.
This is definitely about the Phantom, though. This one's real. All right. I don't know. What are we at? We're at almost an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going quick.
Do we want to go to sub news? We got more to say? Do we have like final opinions about this? What do you think?
All right. Let's go scale out of 10 subs. Mm-hmm. How many subs would you give this movie?
Let's say 10.
I'd give it a 6.
10-inch sub sandwich. 1-inch to 10-inch sub sandwich.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What do you say?
I'd give it a 6. I didn't think it was too terrible. Not great by any means, but rewatchable.
I actually agree with that. I think it's a 6. I think it's weird that it ended up with a 25% Rotten Tomatoes, and it even ended up with not a great IMDb. It has like a 5 point something, 5.6 or something like that, which is pretty rough for a major release like this. So like, I don't think it was like that. I think people really harped on certain points, but in the end, it had, as you said, rewatchability. It has some tension. I won't mind when I watch it again, inevitably.
I watched it for the second time today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to give it, I guess, you guys are about spot on. About 6. Maybe 5.75 inches.
Actually, yeah, it's IMDb score. 5.6 inches.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it didn't shatter my world.
Yeah, what's funny is I wonder if there will ever be one where we would watch it and be like, oh my God, I won. Like, what could they do? Like, this gave us sub action. This has submarine action. There's no doubt about it. So what could they do that would give it a 1-inch sub?
I don't know.
Ooh.
Something that is very interesting, if you look at all these different submarine movies, because I've gone through, created a watch list.
I take that back. USS Indianapolis, I bet will be one. But continue.
That might. Yes, that might. Most submarine movies are pretty highly rated.
Yeah. There's some of the classics. Das Boot, Crimson Tide, Hunt for the Red October, K-19 Widowmaker, U-571.
Yeah. They even got new ones. Black Sea.
Black Sea, okay. That's the other one that's like a huge bomb.
Jude Law, right?
Yeah. That was the other one that was like a minor. That was actually released only in 300 theaters. Like,
there's
still earned
one.
more than this one, released in 1,100.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't believe this was in 1,100 theaters.
Yeah, well, so the story behind that is that it was supposed to be released by a major studio. I forget which one. But they had basically told RCR or something. You see it right in the beginning, the main production studio that funded all of it. And they basically told them, like, we're not going to release this to theaters. And that studio had enough money where they were like, screw you, we're definitely going to do this. And they did it themselves and released it to 1,100 theaters. And immediately, like, normally you get an agreement with theaters where you're like, you have to run it for 2 weeks. And so you hardly ever see a dip between like week 1 and week 2. This one had like a major drop. It dropped from like 1,100 to 200 theaters in 1 week because they didn't have any agreements or anything. They were just like this minor studio that decided to release a film. But there's other examples out there. A lot of the ones that end up as being like super low box offices or things like that, where you look at the studio and you're like, oh, I see.
Interesting.
That wasn't good. Yeah, this is pretty great. It's like 27th worst opening of all time for something released in 600 more theaters. It's like right around something like Oogie Love's Big Balloon Adventure, like movies that no one knows.
Yeah, you said that. Never heard of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like none of the. You'd look at all the movies that it's around, and you'd be like, I don't know any of these things. I don't know what these words are, but Phantom's right in the middle of it.
I did see on IMDb they have photos of the premiere for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought...
Well, they also have a documentary. I don't know if you know that. Making of Phantom. It's like a 13-minute documentary. Yeah.
Oh,
it's on IMDb. That's the only way I know it
Seriously?
exists, yeah. Is that on IMDb, there's Phantom, Making of Phantom.
Wow, I feel ashamed for not having watched it.
Yeah, it's too bad neither of you watched it. I was not going to. So, I bet it's on YouTube.
I'll find it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll watch it.
Report back, some mini episode.
10-minute piece. So Phantom.
6 subs. 6 inches. 6 inches
6
of subs.
inches.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd say it's worth watching.
Yeah.
The second time.
It's short and sweet. That's the one thing about sub movies. I feel like they're often long. Das Boot's like 1,000,000 hours long. So like this one's hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Short and sweet. Get into that sub. Get out of that sub.
Well, no, they get in the sub. They never get out of
Well,
that
yeah,
sub.
but you get in the sub with them, and then you're
Okay,
like,
yeah.
"Peace, I'm out of here," because I'm watching a movie.
And it's on Netflix. Can't argue with that. Are
I actually did not know that. I rented it from Amazon.
you serious?
I did. I paid for money for this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it helped me though, because
Kyle, you owe him money, Kyle.
Yep, that's true. You owe me money because you didn't alert me to it. You didn't share me on that doc that had a little check mark next to on Netflix.
Oh, man.
I should have known.
A movie this fabulous? It'll be on there.
Well, no, I mean, I think movie on Netflix. Oof,
Yeah.
that's too bad. I don't think any of the other sub movies are on that. Maybe USS Indianapolis.
Oh, that's
You're
on
next.
there. That's on there for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, sub news. Did they ever find that Argentinian sub?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen anything on that yet.
That's
Yeah.
sad. Okay, well, never mind.
Actually,
Sad news. They probably are dead.
I don't think
2017.
there's not a lot of good sub news out there.
They're mostly horrible news, like a serial killer killing journalists on a submarine.
Yeah, there was
and there's
that
been
one.
a ton of it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of all my submarine searches.
Yeah, you probably, it's
But
like a
Google just
self-fulfilling,
feeds me.
self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, man, there's so much sub news, where all of a sudden you've like really tapped into the sub news like market.
There's like nothing else going on in the world. It's just stuff about
This
submarines.
guy in his basement who's like, I'm really peddling the sub news. There's this one guy.
They show a heat map of the whole
He
US.
is loving it. I'm going to keep on sending him sub news. So you mean getting fake news about subs? Like,
my word.
guys, you hear Donald Trump? He was on a sub? Like, totally died or something.
The thing that I am very excited about, I don't know whether to be excited or not, but the tension with North Korea building,
Yeah.
I think we've got a whole bunch of potential for submarine movies. Because I think most of the submarine movies come out of the Cold War,
That's true.
and we're back in it.
That's interesting. That's a good point. Because there's been subs in like every war, I would presume.
Mm-hmm.
Why no Persian Gulf War sub movie?
Good question.
That's not a good question. That's a terrible question. There's a very particular reason.
Yeah.
Subs have gone the way of the dinosaur.
Could they even get a sub close to the Persian Gulf area?
It's the Persian Gulf. It's a Gulf. I don't know if they can get into it because of all the ships and stuff. That's a good
Right.
point.
No, you could get there.
I mean, you can get to
Yeah.
it, but there probably is like defenses. They probably don't want.
I mean,
US
there's like
subs,
only one small little
crawling
way
up
into there,
Yeah.
and there's probably a lot of ships already in there. Maybe that's why there weren't any. Or maybe
This
there
is
were, who
actually
knows?
this is a question for the guest on the next episode, the Secretary of Defense. He'll be able to answer.
I
this.
forgot to mention we
Yeah.
have the Secretary
Yes.
of Defense.
Secretary of Defense
episode
is on the
2.
next one. Yeah, he'll be explaining a lot about our sub defenses of the United States. Spoiler alert: we actually don't have that. That's not going to be the case.
So we're not doing the next podcast on an active sub.
We're always on an active sub.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, we are. You sometimes forget when you close the hatch that
Yes.
you're actually on a sub.
Something that was kind of funny today. I was looking for submarine sound effects for this.
Yeah.
The little sonar ping.
Well, luckily we don't need them because we're on a sub.
Right.
Yeah, that's why you stopped. Yeah.
And on YouTube, there is some kind of atmospheric ambient noise from sonar pings. It's 8 hours long.
Wow.
I thought if you want to annoy your coworkers, you just put that thing on as soon as you start to dig. Just Ping. Ping. I don't know. I think people who sit there and listen to sonar, maybe they'd be comforting to them, after they're out of the service, or they would just hate it so much.
No, you'd also be surprised at what people listen to. Like, have you ever heard of, they have like white noise and all that stuff, and white noise sounds like nothing. Mm-hmm. But there's a thing called like brown noise, which you can let people, I know people who fall asleep to it.
What is it?
It sounds like the worst. Like, so they played it for me. I was like, how do you even function, let alone sleep? Like, it was crazy. So yeah, I could imagine someone. Noise. I could imagine someone being like, I can't sleep. I need to sleep with my sonar noise. It's not so different than being like, I need whale noises. I need a submarine noise.
Brown noise. 10 hours.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh. This one's for 8 hours. Alex, you ready to hear some brown noise?
Oh God. So it's nothing to do with subs.
It has everything to do with subs.
Brown noise. It's also the noise that makes you shit your pants. So be prepared.
Useful for blocking out distracting background sounds. Used to help you relax, fall asleep, and even while studying, may provide relief for conditions like tinnitus.
Yeah. See, I felt like it was really terrible.
Is it making any noise?
I was going to say, now it sounds like nothing.
What is going on?
Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I was wrong.
I don't know what's happening.
Well, you know what? This is probably not a great part of a podcast as you struggle to start brown noise.
Yes. We'll pick up with brown noise.
Yeah, brown noise
next week.
Yeah, next episode, brown noise.
There you go.
Well, thanks to anybody who's out there listening. I'm sorry that you're listening to this.
Yeah, hopefully no one. It's like the same people who go to our website. I'm not sure who you are, but I'm sorry that you find comfort in this. Actually, I think it's mostly Kyle. You're probably most of the hits to badmovietwins.com. That's a plug.
Wow. That's a big plug.
Badmovietwins.com. Okay.
Yeah, you got it in there twice.
I just felt like you jumped on it. You kind of stepped on it a little bit.
I did, to try to get it out of here.
Yeah, you just kind of stepped on it though. So I needed to get it back in.
I was trying to stomp on it.
Right.
Not just step.
Yeah. This week's movie is A Space Between.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the movie Phantom in a nutshell. I think we all would recommend watching it at least once. Give it a shot.
I would say this is a recommend. In terms of films that are below 40 or 50% Rotten Tomatoes, I think this is underrated. It was 25. I think it should have been a 50.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
I've seen worse movies.
Yeah,
I've seen Geostorm.
Yeah, that got worse reviews though. I would say an example would be Bullet to the Head, starring Sylvester Stallone, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and it got 47% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is a travesty. That's actually not true. I think it got 30%.
It's still pretty high.
Yeah, but it was terrible. Much worse than this film. Much worse.
There are redeeming qualities in this film.
Yeah.
I'd recommend checking it out.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, how about you?
Like I said before, this is definitely one of my top 3 sub movies of all time.
Out of 3 you've watched.
Are we gonna march through those first? Is that the set of episodes? Is the first is just these 3 movies to see how they
should
rank.
be. It should be.
And then from then on, it's whether the other movies should be in your top 3.
I do like it. I do recommend it. Obviously, if I didn't recommend it, I don't think I'd even be able to stick through this hour and 10 minutes it's been this far. But I do recommend it. And if anybody's on the fence about watching it, I do recommend it. I gave it 6 subs.
6-inch sub sandwich. A 6-inch sub sandwich.
Yep. It won't fulfill you totally, but it'll get you halfway there. So I like it.
I can't wait for the time when we break through that 10 and get to that foot long 12-inch sub sandwich.
We'll get there, boys.
This is a foot long. I can imagine it. Something like Hunt for the Red October, where we're
for sure.
Das
foot long.
Boot, probably.
Das Boot's very long, and it's also
could fulfill you.
It could. That's true.
Andy said it was amazing.
Well, it is amazing. I mean, it's a classic, but I can imagine
him on for that.
That's a good idea. I'd like to get my brother on from badmovietwins.com.
Listen to those plugs.
For USS Indianapolis, if we could.
All right. Well, to our listeners, thank you for checking out our very first episode. We'll be better from now on.
Will we though?
No, we won't.
No, we're about the same.
This is what you get.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Find us on SoundCloud and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.